me share with you my personal journey. I spent 38 years incarcerated in both state and federal custody for a crime I didn't commit. But through the years of my incarceration, I saw the good and the bad side of what it was like to be incarcerated. You know, within the prison system, many things are not very, very helpful in trying to rehabilitate you. Rehabilitation comes from within you and not for what the system can give you. In Oklahoma, the system didn't give you much, but still yet, you had to decide for yourself not to let the system turn you into something that you wasn't. And for the first 11 and a half years, I allowed that. I allowed the system to turn me into something that I wasn't. But then after 11 and a half years, I decided, you know, there's more to life, even in prison, than what I've been experiencing. And so my first and greatest decision was my spirituality. I gave my life to Jesus Christ, and I became a believer in the faith. I had no shame of that faith. And through the many years, the next 27 years incarcerated, I shared my faith with those who would listen. And those who wouldn't listen, that was okay too. I just wanted to drop a seed in their lives. And so through my years of incarceration, before I surrendered to Christ, I was very active in the Native community inside the prison walls. And one of the things that I helped do was I helped bring a lot of the cultural aspect of our lives back inside the prisons. Everything from sweat lodge ceremonies to getting our sacred drum in and feathers and medicine bags to hosting powwows and stomp dances and having celebration dinners for the Native population. That was my passion. And so as I did that and I established Native organizations at different prisons, it was my heart's desire to serve my fellow brothers. And so I did that the best I can. And so after 37 years of incarceration, the state of Oklahoma was forced by a ruling called McGirt versus Oklahoma to drop my charges, because the court said to the state of Oklahoma that they did not have the authority or the jurisdiction to prosecute a Native man accused of a crime in Indian country. And that was the law. And so the state of Oklahoma dropped my charge. And I really thought it was time for me to go home, when all of a sudden the federal government came and got me and basically told me, these 37 years you did in Oklahoma count for nothing, because we have the authority and the jurisdiction to prosecute you now. And so we're basically starting all over. And I can't tell you how devastating that was to hear. But I was okay with going through the system again because of the fact that I knew I was not guilty, and now I had a second chance to prove it. But the most incredible thing about the court system in the federal and the state is they're just alike. And it was told to me by my federal representatives that if the state of Oklahoma can convict you of this crime with no evidence, the federal government will convict you of the crime with no evidence. And so it was their position to have me plead guilty to a lesser crime so I can go home. They said, you've done enough time. But I didn't want to do that. I felt like I was innocent, and I wanted to stand on that claim. Didn't want to plead guilty to something I didn't do. And as I said in federal custody, and this offer came to me, I talked to my family, I talked to my friends, I talked to my spiritual advisors, and everybody believed that I was innocent, but that this was my only way out to come home. but I still rejected their opinions. But one day I finally just in prayer decided to take it to the Creator. And his response to me was, there's no greater gift that a man can give but to lay down his life for his friends. And of course, I didn't understand what he was saying there, because I was like, Lord, I'm innocent of this crime. You wanted me to become guilty of something I'm not guilty of. You wanted me to give up my innocence to be guilty. I couldn't understand that until he told me. In my heart, he said, now you know what my son did. And when he spoke that to my spirit, that truth hit me so deep and hard that I decided to go ahead and take the lesser charge and take the time served that the government offered me. And they released me out of incarceration on November the 15th, 2021. Almost exactly 38 years. So 10 years before my release, my tribe had started a reintegration program. And for 10 years, they told me that when I got released, they would help me reintegrate successfully back into society, which I definitely needed. And so when I was released, I contacted my tribe, and they were excited that I was out. But then they asked me this question: where are you staying? I said, well, I'm living in Oklahoma City. And the response I got from them was devastating, because they said, well, because you're not living in our jurisdictional boundaries, we cannot give these services to you. And I thought to myself, but you promised me for 10 years. And just because I'm not living on the reservation, I can't get these services? I need them. And they said their hands were tied. They could not extend their reintegration services beyond the reservation. But of course, I'm not a man that just takes something and says, okay. I went to the higher ups, and I presented my case before them. And make a long story short, they agreed that I should get some reintegration services, but I couldn't get the entire reintegration services offered to those coming back to the reservation. So I took what I could, and I went back to Oklahoma City. And it was at that time, me and my wife now, who was my fiance back then, decided we needed to do something. I didn't want any other Native man and woman coming out of incarceration to face what I just faced. Almost being told I can get no reintegration services if I live off the reservation. And so me and my wife decided to come together and found this nonprofit organization called Native Wings, like an Ego Incorporated. And it's our mission to collaborate and partner with the 39 tribes here in Oklahoma to provide not only reintegration services, but successful reintegration services to every Native man and woman coming out of incarceration 1 year post-incarceration, that they may have a chance to be somebody again, have a chance to settle themselves and provide and be an asset, not only to their tribe, but to their communities and even to the state. It is time for natives to take care of each other beyond reservation boundaries. And so this is what led to the creation of Native Wings Like Eagle. I have the experience of being incarcerated. I know what life is behind the walls. And I also know the challenges that we face when we come out of incarceration back into society. And I know that we need that help so that we can properly and successfully reintegrate. So that's why I'm so excited about this organization. And I am so excited that each and every one of you can play a part in helping your fellow Native man and woman be that successful element when they come out of incarceration.